Where are my decoupage fans? I've got a project that is sure to get you in the Christmas spirit and super excited about the Roy Cycled holiday release. Hey everybody, it's Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts. I am very happy to be part of this amazing collaboration with some of my other fellow Roy Cycled retailers to highlight some of our favorite papers from Miss Roy Cycle's holiday release for 2026. There is a link to the full playlist in the video description, and be sure to follow along, see everybody's amazing projects, and like, comment, subscribe, ask us all the questions that you want, give us all of your feedback about all of it, and just sit back and enjoy. And then this is what we're using today. This is called Scrappy Christmas. We're going to do a reverse decoupage, which I've never done before because why not? So I have a couple of picture frames. We might end up doing both. And I am going to paint the frames, but I don't want to do that until after I get the decoupage done because I want to make sure whatever color I paint the frames really goes with the paper. We have my semi-gloss, which could be interesting. I was on a call with Royce last night and some of the other retailers that are doing the collab. And we were talking about what we're doing, and Royce reminded me to use a gloss medium for a reverse decoupage, not a matte medium. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I have gloss. Well, I have semi-gloss. So we might get a bit of a cast or film on the glass, which may not be a bad thing. It might give it a little bit of a snow effect, but if it does, then we'll know that if you don't want that, you need to make sure you have pure gloss, not semi-gloss. And this is the golden medium. We might do two different projects here so that we get a couple of different things. Ooh, what about the bird? Can we get the bird? We can get part of the bird. Got this one. Oh, this would be cool. Okay, I know what we're doing, y'all. I know what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to use this piece. And I'm going to cut this, and I'm quit getting my fingers all over the paper. Okay, so we're going to cut that. And then we're going to cut this because what we're going to do is we're going to do both frames, and we're going to put one bird on one and one bird on the other. We're going to position this as much of the bird on there as possible. And I don't really care if it's like centered or not. We're going to take this, and we're going to just make some marks on the paper. And can you guys see? I'll hold it up. It's like there's music notes running all underneath of these. So these papers are amazingly detailed and layered in and of themselves. Y'all can see that. Those music notes that are along underneath there. Now we're going to cut a little bit on the outside of those marks because we want to make sure we have plenty of room and we can trim it up. We might burn off the loose edges. That's actually what I like to do because it gives it a vintagey look. Now that will likely get covered by the frame at the end of the day. Oh, we got a little quote down here that we could potentially use. I have an idea for some layering, so we'll see. Oh, I cut that right along. I cut that right along the edge of the mark. Okay. It doesn't matter what side of the glass I'm on. And so we're going to decoupage it this way so that the image is on the inside of the glass. And so then protected once we put it in the frame, that sort of thing. Now, again, I have never done this. And, you know, here, keeping with my tradition of doing things I've never done before when I am live, because, you know, that's just how we do things. So we're going to apply our medium here. Might have got a little bit too much there. And then we're going to use our misting method. So I'm going to do it off camera a little bit. We're going to mist our paper ever so lightly. We're going to let it do its thing for a second. Loosen up those fibers. I think that was a little too much water. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to lift that back up some. Try to line that up on the bottom of the glass. There we go. And then I'm going to go over that with our medium. Yep, I am. Shoot. Well, that's okay. So I'm a little too far over this way, partially because I cut that, and partially because I didn't line it up right. I should have cut more, a broader outline than what I did. But that is okay. I'm not going to be able to move that. Also okay. Not the end of the world. If I don't like how it looks, we can add a little bit of paper behind it, or I can paint on the glass to give it a little bit of a different look and give it some dimension. Either way, it will all be fine. I'm curious to see when this dries, when the medium dries, if I'm going to have a little bit of a I need to get a water bottle that does not spray quite so much at the beginning. So the point of the misting method is to help your paper fibers release so that you're more likely to get a wrinkle-free finish. Now, I'm not going to say that I get a wrinkle-free finish every time because I don't, but I'm still learning and still utilizing this technique. But I prefer this way than any other way because I do get better results. Now, this needs to dry before we do anything, but I am going to flip it over because I do want to see what it looks like. Very carefully, of course. Here's our bird. Now, at the moment, there's a little bit of the medium showing on the glass, but it's not dry. So I'll be curious to see when it dries completely what that looks like. I'm going to move this one out of the way. Eek. I don't want to get my fingers stuck to it. That's my biggest concern. Get my fingers stuck to it, and then I'm going to pull the paper off. Okay, that one right there. Like I just did. Right there. Got my finger stuck to it. Pulled the paper off. All right. I'm not going to be able to fix it. I just want to make sure that where it lifted is tamped back down. Also, my paper is a little bit too wet. I need to go a little lighter on the spray bottle. I'm thinking that this could be very cool for all kinds of different things. And tamp that down. I got a little bit of a wrinkle there. Let's see if I can lift that and smooth it out. Yep, got most of it out. A little bit of a tinge of it right there, but most of it came out. If you go slow and take your time, if you realize you've got a potential for an oopsie, you can often fix it. And honestly, you guys, you'll know it's an oopsie. Nobody else is going to know. Nobody else is looking at your decoupage project that closely to go, oh, there's wrinkles in there. Everybody's oohing and awing over how beautiful and amazing it is. Okay, so this is still wet. Definitely used too much water. Roll that over though. So I think we're gonna have, I don't know how much you all can see. You all can see that, right? There's like the medium and stuff right there. So I think we're gonna have that in the design. But to be perfectly honest, I kind of like how that looks. It adds an even more of a vintage element to the papers or to the look, which I kind of like. And so I'm not terribly worried about that. We're going to lay this back down. And I want to pick this one up, but I don't want to end up with the same problem. So we're going to try and grab it from the edges there. Similar thing. Got, you can see the medium. So I think if it was a true gloss, you wouldn't be able to see that. But if I do some of the things that I'm contemplating doing, we'll either cover that or we'll make it look intentional. It's not completely dry, so once it all completely dries, you might not be able to see that as much either. So there's that. All right, everybody, let's finish this up. So I painted the frames and I went opposite. So red bird, green frame, red frame, green bird. This is a little brighter red than I wanted, but we're going to put some dark wax on there, and I think that's going to resolve that problem. I do need to fix our little snafu, and I decided I would do that in the recording so that if you wanted to see it, the process, instead of me just telling you what I did. So we have this right here where if you can actually see it better on the back, where I cut the paper too much. So we've got glass showing. And then we've got this little boo-boo right there where I kept touching this before it was dry. And of course, my finger stuck to the paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this little piece of paper with this cutie patootie little plaid on it. And we're going to use part of it to cover the part in the glass, and we're going to use part of it to cover this because it'll show through and you'll have this cute little plaid on there. Now, I'm not going to use any more water. I do need my decoupage medium. That would be helpful. The downside to cleaning things up when you're finished at the end of the day. I'm not going to use any water. I don't want to get this wet again. This is on the back, so it does not have to be perfect. We're going to take just a little bit of my medium and brush it across there. And we're just going to put that down like so. Now, if I was layering this piece in a like traditional decoupage kind of way, I would be doing this more correctly and more carefully. But all we're trying to do here is just really cover up that little spot. So I am not going to be persnickety about it. It's going to go inside the frame. That will do what it needs to do, and it'll all be fun. I'm going to cut this piece a little bit, just so I don't have so much excess. And that's going to pretty much run right there. Now we're going to get a little bit of the particulates from the medium onto the glass because I'm using a semi-gloss and not a gloss, but that's okay. And I'm going to put that, no, I'm going to turn it that way so we get more of the plaid. Down like that. Try to even it out some. I'm going to get some wrinkles in this because I'm not putting the water on it. And when the medium comes in contact with the paper, when the fibers haven't released, it tends to wrinkle. But again, we're working on the inside of the inside, so it's okay. All right. Pick this up very carefully and flip it over so we can see what that looks like. So now you've got that covered. Cut that off. And you've got that covered, so you have a little bit of that plaid in there. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. And then we're going to go ahead and work on this one. Now, normally, when I have a decoupage piece and I have the excess, I either burn it off or I take it off with a sander, but I don't really want to do either. The burning it is to give it a sort of more vintage look. You're not going to be able to see that if I do that here because of the frame. And obviously, I don't want to sand the glass. So we're just going to trim it. I'm not trimming it straight up against the glass because I don't want to bust the seal between the glass and the paper. So I'm leaving a little bit there, which shouldn't be a problem. I guess we'll find out whether or not that really is a problem. And then I have a vision in my head for the finished product here. It's all coming together now. It's really kind of funny because I had no vision in my head when we first started other than the paper that I wanted to use. And then I knew I wanted to do a reverse decoupage. So I was like, okay, well, the only thing I really have for that is picture frames. And then it just all sort of evolved from there. Turn this over. Drop that. Oh, this is the, all right. That down in the frame. This has the grooves in there that the glass is supposed to fit in, which, okay, maybe not the best kind of frame to do this with, but that's okay. So we got that down in there. And then I forget which back goes to which. Oh, wait, the grooves for the back, not the frame, not the glass. Duh. Okay, let's take this off. See if I can get this off. Goodness knows how long I've had this frame, how long the sticker's been on there. We'll have to fix that. And then this has the grooves that the frame backer goes down in. We got our little latches, right? Okay. So there that is in the frame. And you know, if you wanted it to hang more flatter, more flat, I just break these off. I mean, it takes a little work, but they'll break off. And then you have your hangers. So that's that one. And then what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this because I really want this to dry really well before we start to put it in the frame. So I'm going to take my, this is the Howard, the chalk teak. I love this stuff. A little bit on my cloth. Now, I sort of, like you do with a rubber stamp, right? Dab a little bit off because it goes on kind of heavy where you put it first, right? And also gonna try really hard not to get any on the glass. That's not the look that I want. Take it around. Just giving a bit of an antique look, a bit of a vintage look. Tamp down some of the brightness on that red. A little goes a long way, as you can see, although I am trying not to get it all over my hands. This does have an odor to it, so if you're sensitive to odors, just bear that in mind. Turn a fan on before you use it, or open a window, or if the weather's nice enough, take it outside. It doesn't really bother me that much, so we're okay. I have a fan in here in my room, so if I needed to. Okay. So there's the frame, right? All right, we're gonna put that one aside for a second. And okay, I think that is dry enough for what we need. And of course, so I learned a while ago to put parchment paper down instead of paper towels to paint, because your painted surface will stick to the paper towel and you end up getting paper towel bits on your painted surface. I was not thinking about that today. So I put a paper towel down, and what happened? I got paper towel bits on my painted surface. So I'll have to touch that up a little bit. I mean, the wax will probably cover it, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so we've got that trimmed up. And we're going to drop that down in the frame. And so this was the teal frame. And, you know, I just put some bonding emboss on it. Now, this frame really needs something more in between the frame and the backer, which I'll do later. Okay, so there's that. And we're going to do the same thing. Some dark wax. Dab some of that off. Now, this isn't going to show up as well on this frame as it does on the red. So if you want it to show up more, you might need to use a little bit more. You can use a little bit more around the edges to make it show up. Obviously the darker color. And on this one, I mean, maybe you wouldn't even want to or need to feel the need to put the dark wax on there. But this stuff saved my bacon on a piece that I accidentally ruined. Not thinking. So I was using a chalk heat transfer on one of our, well, I went to ink a design on one of the chalk cookbook stands or paste, you know, chalk a design on there. And something went completely wonky. I didn't wax it, the cookbook stand first, which I'd done before, not waxed one, and it worked fine. This one didn't work. Everything peeled up. So I was like, okay, I can fix that. Took a magic eraser, took the chalk water eraser before it dried and went to get the paste off, which worked, except it took the white finish off of the chalkboard. I was like, oops. Because it's basically magic eraser, it will remove everything. And so I put I made you some shut the F up cakes heat transfer on it because it's a very vintagey looking heat transfer. And then I covered the whole thing in dark wax. And now it looks like you found it in the corner of grandma's attic after 20 years of sitting there. So it looks better than I could have possibly imagined it would look. Okay, so those two are done. Here's the last thing I'm going to do. And this is completely a design choice. Now, I absolutely hate glitter, but I love me some diamond dust. So we are going to take, this is just my Tombow aqua glue. I could use the semi-gloss, the decoupage medium as well. But I'm going to take the brush tip and I'm going to put some glue. Ooh, that's probably too much, but that's okay. On the glass. And then we're going to take, this is actually a combination of diamond dust and Epsom salts. We're just going to sprinkle some of that on there. Let that sit for a minute. And then we're going to do the same thing on on this one. And then I'm gonna dump that over right like that. Got a little bit of that right there. And then I don't think I'm going to put any more. This is going to be one of those less is more, except I'm going to put a little bit up here, maybe a little bit down here, right? So we're going to take this and we're going to put it back in my jar. And then we're going to dump that. Got that one. Now I'll put a little more on him, I think. Maybe down here. And obviously, visually, if there's snow here, there's going to be snow here, right? And maybe a little bit down here. I feel like bigger surface area needs a little bit more. This is one of those things, however, that it's super easy to be like, nope, that was too much. That was too much. I think we probably need a little bit right there. And then we're going to come along here, some right there. One of the things I have to remember to do is to actually let this sit a little bit and let the glue dry. Otherwise, you just end up with the majority of your diamond dust coming off. Okay. So we're going to take this and we're just going to go right up in this corner. And again, this part is one of those things that some people are like, ooh, yeah, and other people are like, no. I'm going to do just that and see what I think, because I already have them down in this corner visually. So we'll see. I don't know. It could be too much. You could also use buffalo snow if you wanted something a little bit brighter. The Epsom salt and diamond dust combo makes it glittery, but not white, right? It doesn't make it look like snow. You need real buffalo snow for that. Okay. And maybe what I'll do on this is not put any on the frame on this one and just have it on the glass. And then leave it for a couple of days and kind of see what I think. Sometimes you just got to let something sit for a little bit and before you decide, yes, I'm finished. No, I'm not. Tap that off. Okay, that to me needs more. That's not quite enough. It looks like an afterthought, not intentional. So I'm going to use the pen tip. Put a little right there. And take this over here just a smidge. Oh, heck. I went on this though because it's easier to lift up. Get back in my jar. Probably need to let that sit a little bit longer too, to let that dry a little bit more. Yep, I'm liking that. Just a little touch of something, right? Nothing too significant. Doesn't detract from the bird itself. Not sure if I need any on the frame. Still have to think about that one. Maybe on that frame we use some buffalo snow so that it actually gives it a little bit of white. Oh yeah, now see, that's the ticket. That's what we're talking about there. Look at that. Yep. That looks intentional. Ooh, I wonder. Nope. I was gonna say, I wonder if I need some on the crown. Maybe I do, but we're not going to touch it. I'm going to be done for now, but we're going to think about that. I also could, you guys, okay, you're going to have to tell me in the comments. I have little gems, right? I did a jean jacket. I did a design on a jean jacket and added some crystals to it. And so I could take some of those and glue them down to her crown in place of some of those gems. So you guys will have to let me know in the comments of the video what you think. Is that too much? Or just the right idea? And we shall see. And that's it, my friends. That is it. Here we are. These are our reverse decoupage finished pieces. So this is the Roy Cycled Scrappy Christmas. Keep turning my head away from the microphone to look at the screen behind me. These are the Roy Cycled Scrappy Christmas. So both of these birds are on that design. A link to that in the video description. And then I just took old frames, not even old frames, frames I had, painted them. And we added a little bit of diamond dust and Epsom salt combo to give it that shimmer. And we're all good. So I hope you enjoyed the project. I would love to know what you think. Make sure that you check out everybody else's videos, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.